has been our second set of Lego education launches that have been that have come grinding to a halt with COVID-19. So we made the decision to go, actually, we've organised them twice now. We're going to have to do it differently. We were really hoping, fingers crossed, that we managed to get through these next couple of weeks, because we had these Auckland sessions. Then we actually had some organised for Wellington and Christchurch as well, which we've also had to change to create a webinar instead. So thanks for all of that patience and still coming along. I know that most of you would have been doing some teaching today as well. And if you're like me, having to have little breaks and get out of the house when you can to stay sane. So it's a really trying testing time at the moment, getting our heads back in the game and back in the space of being in lockdown again. And our students feel the same way. So I know I can speak from my 6-year-old is extremely upset about the fact that he can't go to school and hang out with his mates and eat his lunch, because I'm pretty sure that's pretty much all he does when he goes to school. But my 3-year-old, on the other hand, is loving life at home. And basically gives me a high five every single time I say that he doesn't need to go to Bubba school. So it's so interesting how different they turn out to be. So just a quick introduction first. So my name's Natalie Tubman, and I am the digital learning specialist here at OfficeMax. I have been teaching for a very long time and decided to make a really big, brave leap out into the big wide world of corporate. So I look after the whole STEAM/digital technologies category at OfficeMax. So everything that we range and everything that we do comes from a teaching perspective, not from any other perspective. So if I don't see the value in the teaching and learning aspect of it, we won't necessarily range it. So what I try to do is really hold fast to the knowledge that I have, and my philosophy being that we can use digital technologies to enhance our student learning outcomes. So we were really lucky enough to be approached by Lego Education, and we thought this fits perfectly with what our values are, what the Lego Education values are. So, and I used to teach using Lego Education, so I was already a convert to start off with. So we have developed this relationship from the beginning of this year. So with us today to run the session and do some demos for you, and you can ask him all the really hard questions. We have got Mark Lockett, and he is based over on the Gold Coast, and he works at TSS, which is called the Southport School. You may have heard of it, and it's a fabulous school, and he's been teaching engineering and robotics for a minimum of 20 years. So he's got lots and lots of experience. So pepper him with questions, put him under the pump, see how we go. I don't think we can rattle him at all, to be fair. But he is awesome. We'll basically talk about what he has been doing, how he has made it work, how to make it functional in a classroom setting, and all of that. So along with our demo, he's also going to show you some building and bits and pieces. And then we're going to flip between him and myself. I'm going to talk about New Zealand curriculum, because obviously Mark is in Aussie. So those of you who have taught in Aussie, I taught in Queensland for a few years. There are some similarities, but still some very big differences as well. So so I'll do the curriculum stuff. So Mark, I'm going to hand it straight over to you then.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you so much. Hopefully you guys had a good day. I'm not sure if you're at school or where you are, or teaching from home. We were in that situation back in term 2. So I really do feel for you if you are teaching online. It is a struggle, and the kids, I know sometimes aren't fully there. But I'm here today to actually go through the new Lego Education parts. So we'll have a look at 3 products today that are linked into your digital technology. So I'll just jump on and I will just share my screen. There we go. So hopefully that screen has come through, which I think it has. There we go. Great. All right. And I'll just stop that one. Okay. So this is the Lego Education PowerPoint, which I'll go through with a few slides. There we go. That should now pop up. Great. All right. Okay. There we go. All right. So who are LEGO Education? So I'm sure you all heard of the LEGO Group. We've been around since 1932. And LEGO Education was created in 1980. So we're actually celebrating our 40 years for this year. We started all the way back in 1932 producing wooden products. And of course, that has now morphed into a whole load of different LEGO parts. Part of that, of course, is LEGO Education. And back in 1980, some teachers came along and they said, look, we really enjoy teaching with LEGO. And so the LEGO Group said, okay, well, let's see if we can form some form of LEGO Education. And that's really how it started, was teachers were already using this in the classroom. They saw that it had great educational benefits, but then they made it into a formal part as well. So that's really where our background sits. This is what we call the learning continuum, and we're going to go through 3 products today. The first one we'll have a look at is Coding Express, and that sits down in the early learning part. So it's really the very early sort of kindergarten from 2 till 5 years old. Then we'll have a look at We Do, and the We Do sits in grades 2 and 3. And so we'll go through the various stages. And then we've got Spike Prime, and Spike Prime sits in upper primary and also in lower secondary as well. So we're going to have a look at 3 different things. You'll see how they're linked together. As we say, we have a learning continuum. So it's basically how these products go across all the different age range. We also do have the EV3 up in the higher end, and you can see that really makes the whole of that learning continuum come alive for students. So this is Coding Express, and I really like this. This is a great way of introducing coding to young students. And it's not something that teachers really feel that they can do, but this allows you to have a look. It allows you to introduce a whole load of different topics, and it also allows them to have fun. Now, it's based on Duplo, and in the actual kit itself, I think there's probably 200 or 300 parts. We'll have a look at that stage, but it's all based on this train, the learning or the Coding Express. And so that allows students to begin to problem solve. It looks at computational thinking, which I know is part of your curriculum. And also it looks at students to begin to form coding ideas. And we can see on the right-hand side, there are a whole load of different coding ideas, which we can use this part for. So what's in the box? As I said, there's 234 parts. They are the larger bricks. Now that allowed the teachers of that age range to actually get the students to begin to get their fine motor skills developed. So it's a great way of developing those parts. It's all based around the train. Okay, so that's why it is called the Coding Express. And in the actual box itself, which is really built for 6 students. So you can use 6 students per box. And as you can see, 2 years plus, probably up to 5 years, there's a whole lot of posters in there to introduce you into the getting started sets. Now, the great thing about this is it runs off with what we call action tags, and I'll show you those in a second. And it's also got an electronic train. So the electronic train will read the tags, and we'll go through those parts. There is also a free optional app. Now, I really recommend you having a look. The app for Coding Express is on the iPad, or it's on the Android as well. And all our software is free. So if you're interested about looking at a product, I really recommend you downloading the free software and having a look through to see what you can really develop through that as well. Because all the software is free. The kits then sits on top of that at a cost through OfficeMax. All teacher resources are free as well. So you can really begin to see where this might tie in straight before you have a look. So that's the free app. The app comes in on a few parts. It covers maths. My wife's a music teacher, so she loves that music part. It's got a great thing about how to sequence a song, which she loves, and it's got a characters and journey sets on there as well. So that is enough talking from me about the PowerPoint. What I will do is I'll switch over to my camera, and hopefully we can actually have a look at Coding Express. There we go. So hopefully you can all see that Coding Express. So this is the Coding Express. It's all built around Duplo. This is the base, and students can build any form of train they like on the top. So that's the actual train. These are the action tags. And if you've done any form of coding, you'd know that you code with what we call statements. The statements allow your code to do various things. And so when you introduce coding, these are a great way of introducing what a statement is. So we have a few statements. This one is going to be a water. So it's the train will stop for water or fuel. This is the horn. This will turn on the lights. This will stop the train, and this will make the train reverse. Now at the moment, I've got my track, and my track starts here, goes around, and then it stops here. Now this is exactly the same as when you introduce a program to students. This is exactly the way that you would introduce how a program works. There's a start of the program and there's an end of the program. And in between the various parts is what your program will do. So at the moment, I can put my train on. If I give my train a little push, my train will then go around the track. Quite simply, it'll just drive all the way around, and hopefully it's going to then stop at this end, which it does. Now that's a very simple program that has got no parts to actually run. So let's put some code in. So we're going to code now the Coding Express with these blocks. And all you do is you take a block and you drop it on the track. So this is where the train will stop for some water. Let's have it sounding the horn at the back, and let's have it turning on some lights right there. So I've now added some code in. So when I now run my robot or run the Coding Express, let's give it a quick, oh, actually, let's put some, the blocks. So as I said, there's 234 blocks. You can build various parts. So let's build a fuel station right here. And let's have a person ready to take a photo of a train. And we'll have a birthday party right there with the train, have its lights on. So let's now, we've created a story. Let's get our thing to work. Can you hear it filling up? Train goes round. Should now turn on its lights. Oh. And now stops. And so it's a great way of introducing how a program can run. Now, if you've done programming, you might want to introduce the concept of how do we make this program run again? Well, the great thing about Coding Express is the students can visually see how a program works. So if I take out these stop parts and I now introduce some more tracks to now turn this program into a loop. And so one of the primary parts of when you teach coding is all about how things can loop round. And so now what my program should do, hopefully, when I press go, is now the train will go around the track, fill it with water. Sounds the horn, flashes the lights. And now, of course, the train now goes round again. And so it's a great visual concept for students to be able to understand how a program can come together. Now, as I said, it's not just about programming. Oh, let me just stop the train. There we go. That should now stop. It's not just about learning how to code. It's also about introducing things to do with English. So here we might create a story. So we could now write a story about the train going around the track. It might stop at the water. So we might now name this person. We might get our students now write a story about how this works. We could introduce the concept of, well, one of those parts is worth 1. So how far does the train travel around the track? So we could actually count the number of parts that make up the whole track. So you can begin to see how it's not just about coding. There's a lot about introducing language skills. We can introduce math skills. We can get students to tell stories. And you can really put this across the whole curriculum. But it's a really fun way to introduce coding. Now you'll see that this will start in probably 2-year-olds to 5-year-olds. So probably lower kindergarten is where it'll fit in. But as I said, part of your curriculum is introducing coding down into those very early levels of school. But this allows you to have a fun way. Remember, 6 students using the whole kit. This is not the only part of the track. The track has lots of key parts. But it does introduce the fact that you're now coding with color. And so students can visually see how a program works and whether it's taking out the track and forming a stop-start. So where your program stop-starts, you can easily now describe this all the way through. I've used this higher up as well. So when I start teaching the grade 2s about the we do, we visually have a look at how a program works as well. So it's a great reminder of students to see how a program starts and stops, but also if we wanted to, we could add a loop in there as well. But all those extra parts like the English, the maths, all combined together for a fun hands-on activity. And that's really what we want students to have, is that fun hands-on, be able to relate the real world back into the classroom. And so we can start to see where that education sits and where it really starts to develop. So what I'll do, I'm going to stop that camera and I'll ask Natalie to go on and do a quick explanation of, let me just start that one up, of the curriculum link. So I'll turn off my mic and I'll let Natalie jump across to that step.
Okay, cool. Thanks so much, Mark. Coding Express, and we're going to talk about STEAM Park in a minute, two of my all-time favourites from LEGO Education, to be honest. That's my personal views. So what I'm going to talk about is the fact that when we brought LEGO Education into our range, we are the only New Zealand distributor of LEGO Education. Now, what that also meant is that there was actually no curriculum alignment documents created from LEGO Education that connect directly into the New Zealand curriculum. So naturally, what I did was like, hang on a minute, we need to make sure that people actually know how to use this and why you would invest your money, your school's money, into purchasing products like this to enhance the learning outcomes. So this here is an example of what I have done to link our digital technologies curriculum into LEGO Education. So you can see there that initially, if you've looked at the progress outcomes, progress outcome 1 is all about following and describing a sequence and starting that discussion around what is an algorithm. So within the LEGO Education learning continuum, you would do things like get Coding Express, have the kids set up a train track, talk about what the rules are, and that being what the tiles represent, and then starting to link that into what Mark said beautifully before, into our other curriculum areas. So you'll see on this particular document I've written, well, in English, we can actually get the kids to draw the instructions for another child about how to put the train together. They could look at comic strips. They could look at using the train as the main character. Let's look at Thomas the Tank Engine. Now can we write our own script? For maths, they could look at actually estimating how many pieces are we going to need and why. We could look at different roles and responsibilities within social science. Have a look at different forms of transport. What systems in New Zealand have we got, or what systems in our local community have we got for transport? Do we use them? Do we not use them? What would we do to make them better? Or would we have them at all? And actually making those really significant imperative links into our own local curriculum and then building it out. I always think of this as like the avocado effect, looking at the pip in the middle, our integral local curriculum, and then building it out into our global scenarios, so that the kids are continuously making links to themselves. We need them to be making those links, or else a lot of it, as you know, goes in one area and straight out the other. So we need them to be making those connections. And the way that we do this is by using things like Coding Express, which are hands-on, they are fun, they build problem solving, the collaboration is just outrageously amazing. And I can say from hand on heart, I had this at home for my 2 boys in our last lockdown. Now, like I said, I've got a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. Yes, although on the box it says for 2 to 5-year-olds, my 6-year-old obsessed, absolutely obsessed with it. because he loves Lego. He loved the fact that he could take ownership over it. He could build whatever he liked. He could create his own stories. Next thing you know, he's telling this full story to his 3-year-old brother about what's happening. And I just thought, all of that, imagine what I would be doing if I was in the classroom and I was his teacher. I try not to be his teacher because I'm meant to be his mum at home. But all of that learning and what you can actually get the kids to be doing by using these sets is just amazing. So I'm going to stop there, but this is just a little example of the curriculum document that I've created, which I will send out to everybody as well. Over to you, Mark.
Fantastic. All right. So thank you for that. Just have to do a quick change across. So we'll have a quick look at We Do. So this is the We Do set. And when we look at We Do, it fits in probably grades 2 and 3. And so it's a little bit of a more step up. It's actually coding on the iPad, or you can code on the computer as well. It sits across Mac, Windows, Android, Chromebooks, and also Windows as well. Sorry, so it will sit across a whole variety of different devices. Now, this uses not so much the Duplo bricks that we used in Coding Express, but this looks more for the what we call system bricks. And then that also increases that fine motor skills that we want to develop as we start to go through the whole of school. The hardware wise, so we do have a few parts of hardware. So we've got a hub now, and the hub is what we're going to attach. That's a Bluetooth hub. We've got a motor and we've got 2 sensors that sit in there as well. It comes in a nice plastic box. We have 2 students per box. So it's now 2 students per box, which means we're looking at those communication skills. So we're really starting to look at how students communicate in pairs, and we're allowing them to build and work together through the various activities. So you set the challenge, and then students go through the software where it tells you about build instructions and the various parts all through. 280 bricks in the kit, which are a great range. You'll be amazed at the things that students can build from that box. All contained in a box. The lid of the box acts as an amazing building tray as well. So if you're worried about bits going on the floor, you ask students to take the lid off, and then they can actually build directly onto the lid. And then that's got a nice lip which stops any parts from going on the floor. So again, the activity shouldn't be a stress for you as a teacher. You'll be amazed at what the kids do. They respect the kits as well, because they know that if they lose a part, they won't have that same part to then build through the following week as well when they come to do the next activity. The activities are based on probably around a 30 to 45 minute lesson as well. So it allows you to have various expanses through that stage. The We Do is based on science. So there's a life science activity, earth and space, physical science, and engineering as well. So the software is based around a science theme, which we'll have a look through as well. All right, so let's stop that one, and I will make sure that that camera is now on. All right, so let's put that camera on. That camera, there we go. Okay, all right, so this is the We Do set here. I've taken it out of the box so everyone can actually see. I've got the iPad app as well. These are the hardware parts. So these are the various parts of hardware. So that's your Bluetooth hub, which will connect straight to the iPad. It's got a motor. It's got sensors as well. Now, part of your curriculum does mention inputs and outputs. So when we start to have a look through, sensors are inputs and motors are outputs. And so this now then ties directly into your curriculum. We had a little look at the app itself. Let me just move that forward. So hopefully you can see that. There we go. You've got first projects here. So it takes you through a getting started, and there's various getting starting parts on here. What you do is you press go, and then there's the actual challenge. It takes you through build instructions, are all contained on the app itself. So you don't need any form of paper. It's all contained all on the app. If we go back to home and we jump at the different, or have a look at the different classroom activities, these are the different classroom activities. These are called the getting started. which are those ones. And then you've got guided projects in science. You've got open projects. You've got guided projects, computational thinking, and then open projects, computational thinking as well, all contained in the app itself, which allows students to then to work through at their own pace. We're going to do a open one. So I'm just going to go in and we're going to do a quick build. So I'm just going to jump home and I'm going to just go here. So this is our coding screen. I'm just going to move that back and I'm going to build something really quite quickly so you can see how easy this is to work with. So I'm just going to move that back. This is the hub and it's 28 degrees in Queensland, so I think I might need a fan today. So I'm going to build a very quick fan for you, and you can see how easy it is to work with their various parts. So I've just got some bricks out of the box. I'm going to build my fan. There's my motor that sits straight on there. To plug things in, there's 2 ports up at the back. They just go straight in like that. Okay. And then, of course, my fan probably needs some fan blades. So there we go. I've got an activity all set to go. Now here comes the hardest parts, which teachers often are extremely worried about, and that's connecting one device to the actual iPad itself. This is probably the easiest thing, and this is one of the great things which I love about the WeDo. All you do is you hit, oh, let's go, hit that little green button right there. It starts to flash. We come on the iPad, we just hit connect, and it's already got that one there. And that should now be connected. Let's hope it is. There we go. And that connects through. Let's try again. There we go. All right, hit that one. There we go. Now we know it's connected because we get a solid blue light. So a solid blue light shows that it is all connected. So once we are connected, which we are, because we know we've got the symbol, now we can begin to do some coding on the iPad with the fan as well. And this is the bit that students love. They love being able to control things on the iPad and get their motor to do various parts. So let's basically just start off. So all we do is we just drag and drop. So we've got all the icons down the bottom. We drag it into the software. And we've got the green triangle, which means play. And we've got now a spinning fan. So we've probably built the fan in 2 or 3 minutes. Connection was maybe 3. Within 6 minutes of your class, students should be getting things connected and working. And that's just with one block. So we've also got stop down here. So we've got stop and we've got start. Push that one. There we go. There we go. Stop and start. Okay, so we've got what we call a speed block here. So this is our speed block. Change speeds, quite easy. We just click on here, and now let's drop it down to 2. And now hopefully that fan now goes a bit slower. So that's quite straightforward to look at how things now can turn. If we wanted to go to the next step, we could add on direction. So we could talk about clockwise and anti-clockwise. So we've got the 2 directions in here. So we've got direction, we've got speed, and the last one is a little hourglass. Now the hourglass says how long it's going to run for. And in this case, we can choose how many seconds. So I'm going to choose that to 4 seconds. So let's now press play. And now my fan should now run for 4 seconds and then stop. And so again, we're looking at that continuation with the WeDo of things being able to be controlled in blocks. So instead of using those color tabs, we're now saying, okay, well, this will now run various parts. If we want sound, we can drag in sound. Okay, so that's a sound block. If we just click the one, there are lots of different sounds that are built into it. And now the fan now runs. So that's exactly the same as that horn block. So if you remember, the train saw the yellow block and now it ran the horn. This is exactly the same. It's now, instead of seeing a color, it's now seeing that block and then it'll run exactly the same. If we wanted to look at a loop, we showed the loop. This is the loop. So we can drag out the loop and now we can drop the loop around. And now, of course, when we now run, it will now run the sound. And now the fan will now run for 4 seconds. Now, I don't know if you can see the blocks are changing color slightly. You can see them changing color. So you can actually see where it sits in that program. Now, what I suggest you don't do is this on a Friday afternoon at 2 o'clock when you're tired and you've got everyone running a different sound. You might be looking forward to 3 o'clock pretty fast. So the sounds are great. You can also record things as well. So you do have a way of recording. Now, as I said, part of your curriculum mentions input and output. So what we've got here is a distance sensor. So we can now trigger this fan with a distance sensor. So let's just plug in our distance sensor and we'll clip it on to that part. And what we want is when someone approaches this, it should turn the fan on. Okay, so let's go and I'll show you how easy it is to now program a distance sensor. Now to do that, what we use is a wait for. So we're looking for a wait for command. Now at the moment, that's waiting for 1 second. Now we don't want a time. We're going to snap off the time and we're going to add this distance block. Now all of these are shown in the software. There we go. Like that. So there's lots of guides that are built into the software itself. So you might see up at the top, there's a little book and there is a light bulb, and that allows you to go in and have a look. So your students will experiment. The main thing is you don't have to be an expert because you'll be amazed at what students can learn by themselves. And once they know, they will become a teacher and they'll go and show the next group and then the next group and then the next group. So you're building those communication skills straight away. Now we need a person. So believe it or not, my boss at Lego Education is Sandra at Google, and she has her own minifigure. So we're going to use Sandra as the trigger to run this code. So I'm just going to download the code. There we go. So it's now downloaded. The fan doesn't start until Sandra comes in front and then it runs. And we can now see that. So I'll show you again from a side view. Okay. Because so here's Sandra, she's walking in front of the fan, not too far away. And now the fan should then start. So we've easily now got a sensor, we've got a motor, I'll just turn that off, in a very simple and easy format. Now the other sensor you have with this kit is a tilt sensor. So that's exactly the same as a switch. Try and get that on the camera. And all this does is it allows you to tilt this up and down and it'll then turn it on exactly the same. The other great thing you've got, I don't know if you can see it on the iPad, is you can actually use the microphone in the iPad to run things as well. So if you've got a very quiet room, you can actually pull that in and when you shout out, it'll actually start the code. So it allows you to have the microphone in the iPad as a sensor, you've got the distance sensor and you've got the tilt sensor. So those are your inputs, and then you've got the motor and the sound as your outputs. So you can introduce those stages, which I know tie in pretty close into your curriculum as well. So this is the we do. Grades 2, 3, you can go up into grade 4 with this as well. Everything comes in the tray. So you've got all the parts in the tray. It's all sorted. So a lot of teachers are worried about losing parts. Don't know if you can see it. You get little stickers and the stickers go on the trays and then students then sort after they've built the things back into the trays as well. And there's lots of great parts. You get a worm gearbox, lots of beams, you get gears. So you can introduce maths through gears. Okay, so if you wanted to look at a ratio, you could look at a gear one size turning another size, which is a ratio as well. So you can introduce lots of maths through here. The science, of course, is built into the activities. But again, I ask my students to keep a logbook. So everything they do in class, they have to write about, and then they can take photos. So the software itself has also got its own journal built into here as well. So if we come into journal, we can just come in there. We can actually put in text. So students can record any information, and they can also put in photos as well. Okay, so you can just click photos and then you can insert those. That's exported as a PDF to you. So students can then email that, or if you wanted to, what I do is I just keep a written book, and then students can then take photos and then print those out and stick those in. But there is an inbuilt journal in the software as well. So that's the We Do, sits in grade 2 and 3. So I'll show you Sandra's business card there as well. Lots of key parts in here, allows you to do lots of designing, lots of building. The open projects allow you to really expand in that computational thinking and science field as well. As I said, the software is free, so you can download the software and have a look. You can see what the different activities are. You don't need a kit to have a look through to see what the activities are. You will, of course, need the kit to connect to the iPad, but it runs on Chromebooks, Macs, Windows, and I think it runs on Androids as well. So that's really looking at the We Do, sits in grade 2 and 3, and is a great follow-on from Coding Express. So I will pass you back over to Natalie to have a look at the curriculum on that stage.
Fab, thank you. So one really important part that I want to talk about is when the students are starting their journey around the digital technologies and learning how to code and computationally think, they need to be able to see the code. If they can't see the code happening at the time, they don't know where their code is correct and what they need to do next to fix it. So whatever you purchase for your students, please make sure that they can see the code happening, because ultimately if they can't, it just turns into a toy and we're just fingers crossed, let's hope that it ends up where it's meant to be. So it's a really big thing to think about, because we are always on tight budgets and we need to make sure that our budget is being used for the right things. So that is one of my big tips for you. Make sure the kids can see the code, which of course is what they can do with the We Do. Now with the We Do, I love it. And again, tried and tested once as per. It fits perfectly. I know that Mark mentioned grades before, but for New Zealand curriculum, it fits beautifully between years 2 and 5. So you can introduce Coding Express STEAM Park, years 1 moving into year 2, and then from middle of year 2 through to year 5 is the perfect progression for We Do. There are additional bits and bobs that you can purchase to coincide with the We Do as well. So additional bricks and kits that you can buy. Mark might want to talk a little bit more about that later. But in terms of the We Do and curriculum links, fits into Progress Outcome 1 and Progress Outcome 2. You can use this to, I don't know if, oh, you couldn't actually see the lid, but actually on the lid, it gave me a really good idea, just the lid, is there are different forms of transport on the front. So there's a helicopter, a train, and a car on the front. And, oh, there we go. Oh, and that little funny bird thing. But straight away, I looked at that and thought, oh, okay, transport. I could get the kids to investigate different forms of transport. I know they looked at transport systems in year 1. Let's build upon that. Now let's get them to build transport systems, the actual mechanisms of those transport systems as well within year 2 and 3. Get them to code it and then get them to start using that as their form of their narrative, or get them to actually start looking at the science principles behind, using the sensors. If I use that, then this is going to happen. So it's really important that we do see a beautiful continuation of what they have built upon in their year 1 experiences, using particularly with the fact that we have a huge presence of learning through play happening, and making sure that we maintain that play too in the year 1 with our Coding Express and our STEAM Park, and then starting to get into still using play, but then building upon our foundation knowledge. Now I think we've actually got a few questions that have come up. So I'm just going to bring these ones up. Okay, so we've got a question here. How do you charge the WeDo Hub? So there's two ways that you can charge the WeDo Hub. One way is that you can use 2 AA batteries. And then, of course, once they run out, you just swap them over. Then the other way is that you can actually buy the rechargeable battery that can actually be recharged, plugged into the wall using a 10-volt transformer, plugged into the wall and recharged like that. That is an extra. So if that does not come in the kit. So if you did want to get that so that it is a continual just recharging of situation, which is personally what I did at my school, the kids knew that after each time that we used them, they went back to their labeled parts on the wall. I had them plugged in and they were replugged so that the next class or whoever had booked it out next was going to have fully charged robots. Now, Mark, I might get you to answer this one. Would you recommend purchasing any additional kits, or would the core set be enough? And of course, if anyone's got any other questions, please just throw them into the chat function and we'll ask them for you. So Mark, would you recommend purchasing any additional kits, or would the core set be enough?
I would personally say the core set is enough. There we go. Mainly because the whole activities on the software is based around that core set. So if you're going to just run the activities that you wanted to from the core set, then there's enough bricks to actually run all the way through. So as I said, there's quite a wide range of bricks to build machines. There's an idea pack in the software as well that allows students to go outside. I very rarely find that students run out of bricks. There's lots of things to do. Bear in mind, you're only looking at probably 30-minute to 45-minute lesson. So you're not looking at a major build. The idea is that these kits can be used for numerous classes. So each activity would probably last between 30 to 45 minutes, which means you could break it down and then the next class could come in and use the same set. So the whole philosophy is the kid is not caught up with the same class for 1 week and then the next week. You can actually use it over multiple classes, which means, of course, that the purchase costs can then be expanded across the whole of that year level rather than just that one class, because everyone will be using that set.
Okay, cool, thank you. Liz, absolutely, we will share the slide presentation with you. So after this, I'll flick you out some information, like I'll send you the curriculum alignment documents and I'll also send you through the presentation. Another question, Coding Express recommendation is 6 children per kit. WeDo is 2 children per kit. Why such a big difference?
Okay, yep, good point. The whole idea is during those younger ages, especially down in kindergarten or your year 1, we're actually trying to get students to communicate in larger groups. Because there's more parts, they're larger parts, you're looking at not so much a structured platform as you are with the WeDo. So you're looking more at play-based. And of course, with play, it's very hard to play with just 2 people. So the more people you have involved, the larger the play group will be, which means you're going to get better stories. All those sorts of things will then layer on the top. The reason why we work with 2 is mainly because if you have 3 people working with these kits or more, you get the spare wheels. So you get someone who's great at coding, you get someone who's good at building, and then you ask them to switch around. You often find that in your normal classroom activities, which I'm sure teachers are fully aware, when you get 3 in a group, one person tends to sit out a little bit and not get really involved. So the theories and philosophies that we've used for the LEGO Education kits basically work from the WeDo further up. So anything with the system bricks will all be basically working with 2 students, unless you're going into some of the competitions. So if it's a classroom activity, you're basically looking at 2 students per kit from that grade 2 all the way through to high school as well.
Okay, perfect. Okay, we've got 2 more questions. Coding Express, how quickly do the students move from using the coding tiles to wanting the iPad?
Yeah, good question. It all depends. You don't have to run it with the iPad at all. And I wouldn't start off with the iPad. I would introduce the concept of using the bricks and the train first of all, mainly because it's great to actually have that hands-on approach. You get used to pushing the train and then it will run all the way through. The iPad allows you to have extra activities. So if you wanted some ideas, I think that the iPad introduces the ideas to the teachers, not so much for the students. Even though the students can use the iPad, I think there are 3 music, 2 maths, 3 for the characters and the activities as well. But they allow teachers to see where you can go from here to introduce it into your various classes. So I would use that as an idea. Let students use it, but really try and keep with the bricks. It's that play that you really want to introduce a coding theme. The iPad is great, but I think you're looking for those very early years to get them to play together. So groups of 6. If you've only got one iPad, because you can only connect one iPad to the train, who's going to get the iPad? So it's that whole part. So again, you could look at sharing various stages, but the bricks work well. The iPad is a great way of introducing the remote control parts, and also some of the sequencing with the music, but you don't actually need the iPad at all to use that whole kit.
Okay, cool. Yeah, to be honest, I didn't actually use the iPad, and I haven't needed to use the iPad with my kids yet. So can I purchase additional kits that would add on to Steam Park or Coding Express? Oh, we can't hear you, Mark.
No, that's all right. Sorry.
Sorry.
It wouldn't allow me to unmute.
Oh.
Yeah, the kit is, of course, you can add extra kits in to make a larger kit, but the kits the activity sheets are based around that one kit. So everything has been designed around that one kit. Lego Education have those sets before they go out for sale, and they work on them for about 3 or 4 years. So they put them out, they put them tested, they work through, they make sure there's enough bricks in there, they look at how many students can use those bricks and the actual train itself. So there's lots of testing that have gone in behind. Of course, you can add extra bricks into Steam Park and do the various things. But again, those getting started activities are all based around those initial box itself. Just so we understand that it could be quite a large purchase amount, and so we want teachers to have everything they've got in that one box that they need to then teach the various classes. There's no reason, of course, why you can't put extra bricks in any set. Just try not to switch bricks from one kit to another, because then of course that means that some of the guided activities and the open things won't work quite as well, because you need those bricks in each set.
And that's a really good question too. Like Mark said, it's everything that you need is in the kit, but there are additional sets that you can buy. Like you can buy extra people, you can buy windows and doors, you can buy My Excel World is another one that you can, because they're all because all the Duplo pieces are Duplo pieces, you can use all of the parts within all of the sets. But yeah, it all depends on your budget, doesn't it? Like it all comes down to how much money you're being allowed to spend, pretty much. I think that is all our questions. Yes. Perfect. Right. All over to you again.
Okay, great. All right. So we'll have a look at Spike Prime. So if we look at Spike Prime, let me get that one. So Spike Prime sits in that upper primary, lower secondary. So your grade 6s, is that right? 6, yep. So that's really where it sits. So 5 and 6. So you can see how it begins to follow all the way through. And again, the kit, the hardware, the bricks allow you to have fine motor skills. The Spike Prime allows you to look a little bit more at techniques. So if you're anything into Lego, you know that we've got the bricks itself. And then we've got parts that allow you to join bits together using pins. Now they're called technics. So the system bricks and the technics in this kit can be joined together. Now, if you look at the EV3 over on the far right-hand side, that works purely on technic bricks. So Spike Prime is a great transition from WeDo into the EV3. If we have a quick look through, these are the hardware. Again, it comes in its own plastic box, 2 students per box and 10 years plus, 528 bricks in the set. We've got a hub, we've got 2 medium motors, a large motor, 4 sensor, light sensor and distance sensor in there. So we've got lots of inputs and then we've got lots of outputs on that part as well. Now, this is the cool. So the Spike Prime came out last year and Lego actually designed some new bricks purely for this set. And I'll go through them when we start to have a look through, but there's a new base frame, there's new bases, there's new wheels, what we call the biscuit, there's cable management, all those sorts of great things that students need to use to go to the next step. Now, software-wise, it's based on Scratch. So lots of schools have been using Scratch. And so if you're using Scratch, the color blocks will match exactly what you've been using previously. If you want to extend students, then we've also got a text-based language called Python built into the software as well. So students can not only code with Scratch, but if you want to extend, so you've got some students who've gone, oh, this is too easy, then you might want to steer them in to using the text-based as well. Everything has got its own help guides built in. It's got getting started in activities, so you don't have to worry too much. The whole idea that we're trying to get across to you guys is you don't have to be the expert. We really want you to be able to introduce the themes that you want the curriculum to be tied into, and then the software and the kits will allow students to go through the individual parts like these units and then learn about how to code. So all the learning for the coding side is built into these 4 units. So we've got one about design, which is the Invention Squad. We've got life hacks, which is programming with variables, kickstarting a business, computational thinking. If you're interested in First Lego League, I'm not sure if you guys have heard a great deal about First Lego League. It's a competition run across the whole world. And it's basically the competition ready kit or competition unit allows you to start to look at how you can compete. Now there is a competition ready extra pack which you can purchase, but you don't need that to do the design or the Invention Squad life hacks and kickstarting a business. You only need the extra pack if you're looking at competition, and that's probably not a bad thing if you are going to go in and compete further against other schools. So that's really that competition ready, lines you up for First Lego League. So that's those parts there. And let's do a quick demonstration. All right, so let me stop that one and I'll just change my camera over again. There we go. Okay, great. All right, so this is Spike Prime. Again, comes in a box. Every part has got its own kit as well. So we've got things that are labeled as well. So everything has its own space to go. Again, we found that teachers really want to know where stuff goes at the end of the class. So everything has its own space to go. And then students can just read off the label and make sure it goes back in. And that's part of what we really want students to take ownership for the various parts. So we've got that tray as well. This is the hardware. So this is the Spike Prime. Let me just turn this one on. There we go. It's got its battery built into the back. So it's got its own rechargeable hub built in. That comes in the kit itself. It's charged with a micro USB, which slots in there. If you're going to be using it purely for iPad, it does have a Bluetooth connection, but you will need a charging pack. If you're going to use this with computers, you can actually plug the USB cable in here, plug it into your computer, and it will charge from your computer. So you don't need any form of extra charging. If you're going to use it purely for iPads, you will need some form of charging bank or charging system, but a lot of people have just got like a USB cable so they can, or USB charger they can plug it straight into. So that's the actual hub itself. Hardware wise, we get 3 motors. We get a large motor, 2 medium. We get a distance sensor, which is that one from there. Have you ever, oh, I missed that comment. We get a light sensor and we get a force touch. So this will take up to 10 newtons. So if you're doing any form of science, you can actually use this as up to 1 kg. So this will tell you if it's either 0 newtons or 10 newtons as you press down. So it allows you to have a various force touch on that stage. We've got a brand new wheel, which is quite a solid wheel, and that has got a set diameter, so you can introduce a circumference. We've got a brand new roller wheel on there, and my favorite parts are these ones. Now, when students start to use the kits, they want to build really fast, and this is what the new base and the new frames allow students to do. So let me just quickly show you. So if you were going to say build a robot for maybe an automatic garage door, you could easily build your system like this, and you might be able to attach a motor onto that one as well. And you can see that all the motors have got parts where we just attach, and you could easily now attach that part onto there, and you could build a door straight from there. So the new frames and the new base allow students to prototype and come up with ideas really fast. And this is a great way of students being able to think, to design, and then come up with solutions all by themselves. So that's just a little bit about those parts. These are brand new in this set, and this is the only set that has those parts. I might have talked about the biscuit before. This is what we call the biscuit, and it allows you to quickly build parts, and then you can look at running gear systems off here. So this is the whole purpose of the biscuits, is now you can easily now put a gear straight in there, lock that in place, and then you've got a gear system to run straight off there. So again, it's all about having students being able to come up with the ideas and prototype really fast. Okay, so let's have a quick building activity. So I'm just going to just show you. So I'm going to take the base. I'm going to attach a motor. Now, as I said, the motors have all got bits that just attach straight on. So you can see how easy it is to attach a motor. Let me just move that one forward a little bit. There we go. So we're just going to attach the motor straight on to the base. To plug it in, you just take the cable, very much like the WeDo, and plug those in. You can't use these motors with the WeDo hub, and you can't use the WeDo motors with this hub as well. So at the moment, it is separate. You can read up if you want to use power up. I don't quite know how that all works. We just try and stick to the various motors that come with the kit. Let's build the next part. So I've got a little hand. So I'm just going to put my hand on because I'm going to do some waving. Okay, and I've got a very simple model all built. Now, if you're anything like cable management, we've got these brand new cable clips. And so they allow you just to clip parts in, and then you can cable manage all your ribbon cables. And some students will love to have it looking amazingly neat with all the cables going in various directions. Okay, so we've got our basic robot all completed. Let me just put some things back, and I will show you how easy it is to connect the iPad in. So let's turn on the iPad. There we go. Let me just bring up Spike Prime. Oh, let's go through it. So this is the way your iPad opens up. And as I said, Spike Prime is all about having a really quick start. So we've got a getting started activity, and there's 3 getting starting activities built straight into the software. And these have got instructions built all the way through. They introduce students into the hub, the sensors, and then there's a quick challenge to build what we call hopper. So that's a really quick way of having a look through. Unit-wise, all the units, are in here. So these are those units which we were talking about before, and each unit has its own activity. So if we come into Invention Squad, you can see that these activities are all built in straight into the software itself. Every brick you need will be in the kit, so you don't need any extra parts. Unless you're doing the competition ready part, everything you need is always in that base set. The lessons are based around 45 minutes. So again, we're looking at teachers being able to use this set across multiple classes. So again, you're reducing your costs because you're not going to have it tied up with one class for 3 or 4 weeks. So again, we're trying to make sure that teachers have got the resources they need. And also all students can really have this amazing experience as well. All right, so let's just open up a new program. Okay, so the first thing it says is, do you want to write in Word blocks or Python? So Python is a text-based. Let's go Word blocks. So let's go create. And now we've got, if you've done any coding with Scratch, you know that Scratch is almost exactly the same as this. So those very simple blocks. To connect it across, let's just make sure we've got Hub turned on. There we go. So Hub gets turned on. And then up in the top corner, we've got a Bluetooth connection. So we just hold down that Bluetooth. It should start to beep at me, come into Hub. And now on the iPad, it's now going to try and find that device. There we go. It's even got its name. So I've made sure that all my hubs have got what they're called on there. So I actually write Spike 5. So as you can see, I've got Spike 5 here. That's connected across. And now it's connected. And we know it's connected because it's got a little green light on the top. Okay, so let's do some very simple coding. So all we do is we just click and drag. Oh, if I can get this one to work. There we go. Okay, so click and drag basically allows us to get that part straight on there. We've got to zoom in. So if we want to zoom in a little bit, we can zoom in from that stage. There we go. Zoom in down there. And again, we can easily now run this code. Oh, there it is. I think I've got a box over the top of me on my screen. There we go. So again, we've got down the play and we've got stop. So hopefully now, when I now press play, we should find, there we go, we get one turn. So this block says port A, so it'll wire straight into port A, turn clockwise for 1 rotation. Now then, I'm going to have a little look at the various stages. So I can actually change this to degrees. So if you're going to teach students about the circumference and look at how we can get it to turn 90 degrees, well, let's have a look. So I've got this turn A4, and now I'm going to just click on here, and now I'm going to put 90 degrees. 90 degrees. And again, everything is coded on the iPad. Press play. And now we should find that now turns 90 degrees. The great thing about these motors is they've actually got, I don't know if you can see on there, they've got a 0 on the very top. Now that's your 0 degree angle. Now if I turn that one back, there's actually a little line on the next part that allows me to line those two up. So the great thing about this is I can always return to what we call the home point just by using one of these points here. So if I drag out this one, oh, there we go, go shortest path to 0. I can get this one to come out, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to get it to go shortest path to 0 first of all, then turn 90 degrees, then I'm going to get it to go shortest path back to 0. And so what should now happen is now when I play, I go like that, and so I'll play that again. So go down and then back up again. If we want it to turn the other way, of course, we just drag this now in. And I'm going to now have it going the other direction for 90 degrees. So you can introduce angles straight away. If you're going to use, of course, a wheel, so if you build a robot that drives along, you can introduce circumference. And of course, 1 rotation of that wheel, 360 degrees. And so again, it's looking at all those key points that you could tie in directly into the maths. So let's run that one now. So we go, there we go. And we might have that now coming back to 0. And so now it'll start on 0. It'll now wave all the way across. And so we've got a very simple piece of code just by using motors and returning back to that 0. Of course, if we wanted to expand this, we've got parts like loops. So if we wanted a forever loop in here, we could easily now just drag out the forever loop. And if we put it in the right position, there we go. That now goes around the whole thing. I don't know if you can see that. And now when I press play, we should now have a constant wave to New Zealand. There we go. And so now it's a very simple piece of code that now runs that all the time. We mentioned sensors, and this is probably my favorite sensor that Lego has produced. This is called the color sensor. And the color sensor allows you to use Lego bricks to do various things. So I'm just going to lay that sensor down there. I'm going to grab a couple of bricks. So I've got a red brick and I've got a blue brick. There we go. And that's all on that screen there. Fantastic. All right. So let's introduce how we can use a sensor. So if we wanted to say, have this going at a speed. So let me just jump back. I'm going to now pull in a very simple speed command, if I can find it. There we go. So I'm going to put that at 75. So when I run this, that motor should now run at speed 75. There we go. Right. Okay. What we can do is we can hold this down and we can duplicate the code. And so now I've got the same code, exactly the same, but I'm now going to change this one to 25%. Okay, so exactly the same code. Now, of course, at the moment, they can't both run at the same time. So I'm going to break off that top part and break off that top part and drag those back in. And now I'm going to come into events, and under events, what we've got is a color sensor. I'm going to drag this one in and I'm going to change this one to blue. Oh, let's put that one back in. There it goes. Come on, there we go. Into blue. There we go. All right. Okay, so this is a great way of using this color sensor now. So if it sees blue, it's going to go 25. If it sees red, it's going to go 75. Download the code. At the moment, it's not seeing anything. Let's show it a yellow brick. No, doesn't do anything at all. Let's show it a red brick. Yep, that's working well. Let's just run the code again. And now let's show it the blue brick. And now it goes a lot slower, of course. So we've got a great way of introducing sensors and colors. So this is, of course, is seeing colors, which is almost an exact loop into what we did with Coding Express. Because, of course, Coding Express works off colors. And so we've actually done exactly the same as Coding Express. The Coding Express has got a sensor right here, oh, right there, which will detect colors. So in fact, we could almost build a Coding Express from Spike Prime because the color sensor allows us to take an action when it sees a color. Of course, we have to code it, but again, we can see where that learning continuum fits in. From going all the way back to Coding Express, which looks at colors, we can also do exactly the same, but we just need to code it accordingly. And so again, we've got different sensors which we can use. The distance sensor will allow us to see how far objects is. Again, great math skills built into that one. And the force sensor allows you to introduce science into that whole field. So that's really the three main topics and the three main products to fit in across the whole of the primary field. So Coding Express, you've got We Do, and then you've got Spike Prime that fits all the way through. So I'll pass you back to Natalie to just have a quick chat on the curriculum that fits in, if I can jump mine back. There we go.
Fabulous. Thanks so much. And I know that I've seen what the time is, and I know that we've run over time. But Spike Prime was awesome to fill the void that there was between We Do and Mindstorms. So for me, from teaching both of them, there was a definite lack in the middle there, and they've filled it perfectly with Spike Prime. So like before, Spike Prime can be used from year 5 right through to year 10. So remembering that within the progress outcomes, we need to be having the kids start understanding an algorithm and exactly what that means, the language that's involved with it. And then when they get into year 9, they need to start looking at text language. However, in saying that, I was at a school the other day working with the staff, and they had a 6-year-old boy, and I can say this from my previous school as well, who was going to coding classes after school, and he was doing Python. So we've got a massive, at the moment, we're in that transitional phase within education in New Zealand, where we've got teachers like myself, who I was one of them, quite unsure about what we need to be doing. But then we've got kids sitting in front of us who know 10,000 times more than what I know, and are ready to be pushed further. So we just need to know, as teachers, we need to know what is there and what is available to help us to do that. We definitely don't have to have the answers. I've had many a time in my classroom where I have just given the kids a challenge, and they've said, "Oh, Mrs. Tubman, but what are we meant to do? You know, how are we meant to solve this?" And I just go, "I have no idea. This is what your job is." And my response was always, "I've been to school. It's your turn now. This is what your job is." And they love it. They love knowing more than what the teacher does. So Spike Prime, I just want to come back to the charging comment before. Mark, 100% right. So it actually comes in the kit. The rechargeable battery comes in the kit this time. What I recommend to schools to do, what I did, was I just bought a USB charging hub. So that held 10 USB ports. And so that actually went with the kits around the school, and each time that they were used, they knew that the kids knew that they had to be plugged into the USB charging hub, and then that was just one plug into the wall and it was done. So it's just little things like that that really do make your life either really difficult or really easy. So this here is my example of some of my curriculum stuff. So I've said for progress outcome 3, get the kids to design and build an object or a tool or a robot that could assist us in our daily lives. So a power tool, wheelchair, sorting machine, etc. And so they've actually got the problem there. It's a real life problem. And now we can actually start to link it into our other curriculum areas, our English, math, social science. Under the social science one there, I've got how inventions of the past influence the times of today and the future. In my Year 7 class, I actually taught a whole unit around inventions versus innovations, which they are actually very different. And the Spike Prime, if I had him when I was there, I 100% would have used him, because I would have got the kids mastering the difference between innovation and invention and embracing the whole philosophy of Lego education being hands-on, minds-on. So they actually go through a lesson with you, or you just use it, take the lesson from the ports that are available to you, i.e. the website, run through that with the kids, and then get them to add their own ideas and philosophies and thoughts to whatever they have created. It's incredible what the kids can actually create once we give them a little bit of a boost, and then they are off and running through bits and pieces. Really important to know as well that the kids who are operating within Progress Outcome 3, no matter what age they are, need to know how to explain inputs and outputs and looping. So they have to be able to do that at the same time as being able to repurpose code that you've already given them. So that doesn't need to come from you in saying that. That could come from another person in the class. So another person in the class could give them code, and then they've got to design an object that is going to be able to run that code. Now that's incredible thinking when you think about that. So I will email you through my whole curriculum documents. But we've got some questions here too, Mark, that I just want to quickly run through with you.
Sure. It's like so it's one from Hayley.
Yes.
With his robot, have using teachers who are not confident. The whole idea of Spike Prime is it builds confidence in students and teachers. And so everything that you need is all contained in that set. So look, it is your first lesson, you'll go, oh my gosh, but within 10 minutes, you'll be amazed at how much the kids know and how much you will pick up. You don't have to be the expert. The whole idea of these sets is all the activities allow you to put the emphasis back on the students to learn. How you record that, I would use a logbook, or you could actually have a look at the individual assessment pieces as well. So you do not have to be confident. It's amazing. Part of our PR or the marketing of Spike Prime was building confidence in teachers and students. And I think they've nailed it every time with this kit. It's a really nice kit. You don't have to be the sage on the stage. I think you can be the guide on the side. And so that's the whole point of this. In reality, do the lessons take longer? No, you'll be amazed. They have tested this. As I said, they go through probably 3 years of testing each kit, and these activities are bang on. Some of the extra ones, if it's got, it can be done in 45. You can include pack up in that as well. So yeah, so no, I think they're bang on time. If we were primary school only up to year 6, would you recommend only purchasing a few Spike from more able? Certainly, if you do have more able students and they are coding in Scratch, then Spike would be the one which I would then go for. So if you've had students who've had prior experience, it does enable those extended students to start to code, as Natalie said, in Python as well. Do you do a basic getting starting primary school course? That is down to Natalie.
That is. So basically, Bev, with that one, it would come down to you and I getting together and figuring out what it is that you need in your school, what's going to be the best way forward, and then I can work with you and your staff to make sure that you get up and running nice and quickly and easily. The other thing to add in there too is that Lego Education have just launched what they call their new Lego community. Now, this is designed specifically for educators. And so you've got teachers from all around the world communicating together in one platform, talking about what they're doing with their kits, how it's working, if they've had any challenges, what they've done to move through that. So for that one, yes, work with me, and then we can also branch off into other areas of development if we need to do that. But to be honest, like Mark said before, the practice sessions and the lessons that they've created are just so unbelievably easy to follow. And I've had teachers, myself included, right from the I am absolutely refusing to teach coding and robotics to my kids to I am absolutely nailing text code. So, and I have managed to get all staff that I've worked with to use Lego Education. So, which is, quite a big achievement, I think.
All right, so that's those final ones. Are the 2 building tools like Scratch and Python built into the Lego app? Yes, they are. Yep, so you can actually code in Scratch. So you saw how I did the plus sign. Either say, do you want to code in Scratch word blocks or text? You just click on either of those. You don't need to download anything. The only thing you do need to download are the units. So the 4 units are downloadable, especially for the iPad. You just download those separately straight in. Are there expansion packs available for Spike Prime? So you can buy the competition ready expansion pack. Yes, that certainly comes as an extra pack, extra motor, extra sensors, and a whole load of extra bricks in there as well. There are, through Lego Education, replacement packs. So the actual kit does come with its own replacement pack. So in the set itself, you'll see that one bag in the box does not have a number, and they relate back to those trays. you pull that extra pack out, and that is your spares pack. So we're actually giving you spares for the kit. So a lot of teachers have gone, wow, this is great. I've got spares. I don't need to buy those instantly away. So there is an expansion pack for Spike. These for competition ready, but you can buy spares if you have sort of stuff has gone missing. Do the motors come with a warranty? Yes, all LEGO Education equipment comes with warranty. If it's still being serviced by LEGO Education, there is a warranty, and speak to Natalie about any issues with that. We do have a LEGO Education helpline as well if you do have any further issues. And what is the main difference between Spike and Mindstorm? So Mindstorm has now been pushed up into the higher end, so probably grade 9, 10, in that sort of space. We're now offering with Mindstorm, which is the EV3, which you saw on that LEGO Continuum, in coding studio code. So you can code in Scratch, which is called Classroom, and a new app currently for Mac, but it's going to be available in I think October, November across all platforms. That's going to be coding with Scratch. If not, we have Studio Code, which is Microsoft Studio Code, has an EV3 Python extension, which is built in. I'm currently using it with my grade 9 students, and they're loving that stage as well. I wish I had Spike. Spike is an amazing set, especially for that grade 7 sort of zone as well. But yeah, we've got the EV3s. Spike sits perfectly in that grade 6, 7, 8 sort of space. And then EV3 now has been moved up because it's got extra packs that are built into it as well. If you currently have the EV3, it still is an amazing set. It's just that we've moved it up slightly higher with some of the software that we now offer. And I think that's the last one, and I'm sure you guys are looking forward to an afternoon.
Yep. So, so I think we're going to wrap it up there, everybody. But just to let you know that because this was meant to be an event, and we had organised goodie bags and all these sorts of lovely bits and bobs for you to enjoy when you came to our event, what we will do is we're actually going to send those out to you so that you're still going to get them, because that's nice. And we love nice things. So I think what I will be doing is I'll be sending you out all the curriculum information, documentation. We'll also be sending you out the goodie bags. There are also, in your goodie bags, you'll also receive a catalogue, our digital technologies catalogue, which LEGO Education is within the first 6 pages. And there'll also be, I don't know if you can see this, but a copy of our latest flyer with promotional pricing. So of course, please just get in touch with us, and whether it is with me or whether it is with your account manager. If you're not sure who your account manager is, just talk to your office staff and they'll tell you who it is. Our account managers are super friendly, so they'll know who they are, and they will work with you and myself if we need to work on kits or combinations of bits and pieces that we need to make sure that it's specific to you and your kids, because that's what my purpose is. My purpose is to make sure that we are giving the kids the education that they deserve, and that's wholeheartedly my philosophy. So hopefully you've had a really great time this afternoon in this weird and wonderful COVID world. I'm seeing lots of lovely messages pop up now. We really do thank you for coming along today, and apologise for not being able to hold the event. It was going to be all hands on. You would have played with every single thing that Mark showed you. But I do have those kits available too. So if you get in touch with your account manager and say, look, can you just bring one kit out for me to have a look at? We would be more than happy to do that for you. So I think we're going to wrap it up there, and have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you so much, Mark. Once again, brilliant as always. Love it. Love your work. Keep it up. And hopefully we'll be in touch with everybody shortly. Thanks so much.